we have Eva Sifis, speaker for today. Eva is a South African who does lots of things in the community. And I'd like to welcome also my co-host, Gulair Altopis. Hi, Gulair, how are you doing?
Thank you. Good. And how are you doing? It's a beautiful day actually today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely outside. So how about we kick it off with acknowledgement of country?
Yeah.
I'll just bring that up.
Okay. So, acknowledgement of country. DND Your Life, Your Voice project. Acknowledge the traditional owners of the land to which we work and live and recognise their continuing connection to land, water, and community. We pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging. We remember all self-advocates who have worked hard over the years for the rights for themselves and other people with disabilities and human rights for all. Nothing about us without us.
Yay!
Okay, welcome Eva, and this is a conversation with Eva. So how about we kick it off with, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, Eva?
Okay. Well, once upon a time, I was a dancer and a performer. I used to work around Australia in nightclubs, and I worked in Japan as a cabaret dancer. So I did four contracts as a cabaret dancer in Japan. I'd come to Melbourne, and I was getting ready to go over to China and be a pop star over there. But when I was going home to pick up my costumes, as I crossed Nepean Highway, I got hit by a car. And that was 1999, and that was the end of that life. Since then, I have learnt to walk, talk, be again. I moved back to Adelaide for 10 years. During that time, I became involved with disability arts. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? I'm an artist and I have a disability. So obviously disability arts is where I'm meant to go. And I got a bit sick in 2009. I had stage 4 cancer. So I had to get better from that. And when I got better from that, I ended up moving back to Melbourne in 2011 and started again right from the beginning. It really felt like. And so I had to build my way up. And then in 2014, I was lucky enough to get a grant from DHHS, so Department of Health and Human Services. And they paid for me to build my own business, which is By Accident. It's a series of trainings for other people that have had a brain injury. And what motivated me to build this business was just in reflection of my own journey and how I feel like I've gotten better. And I really wanted to start a conversation amongst my peers, recognizing that everybody around the table is an authority of their own experience. And I just really believe that the wisdom of brain injury lies in peers. It doesn't necessarily lie with doctors and with professors and people that have learnt from books. I believe that we have lived this reality, and so we know it better than anybody else. And I also work with Arts Access Victoria. I'm working today at Voice at the Table. And I'm also running a business. I'm also producing a piece of theatre, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes, so I know a little bit about Eva because I've known her for a little while now. So so I think that from what my understanding is, you reinvented yourself after your injury and you went back to study. Is that correct?
I've done three Cert 4s before. So I did a Cert 4 in holistic wellness, and that was in 2004 to 2006. I did a Cert 4 in community development in 2008, and I did a Cert 4 in training and assessment back in 2019. And I think it's a really good encapsulation of my journey, which is that I've looked outside the square for healing options. So that was demonstrated by my holistic wellness training. And then I've totally involved myself in the community and community arts and disability arts. So that's reflected by my community development. And of course, I've built my own training. So that's reflected in my Cert 4 of training and assessment.
So do
That's
you
quite
have,
complex, actually. I've done that as well, Eva.
What's the training and assessment?
Yes, yes.
Oh, it's a horrible course.
It's quite involved, and I actually worked. I used to run an RTO, like a registered training organization,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
I totally understand how everything has to be have risk assessment and quality assurance and all sorts of compliance things.
So something I say, Julia, is something I say about that is that I'd say if you want anything to take your love of standing in front of people and telling them what to do that course, because that course just leeches any joy out of being a trainer. Anyway, I shouldn't be saying that.
well, it's good to know because I've been thinking about doing that course, but that's another
Just policies and
conversation
procedures.
for another day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you also have a doctorate?
A doctorate? No, I don't have a doctorate.
Oh, sorry.
But no, something I say that's what I say. I say I may not have been to university, but I've got a doctorate in getting better because it's been 22 years of 24/7 study of myself. So I lovingly and jokingly say that I've got a PhD in getting better.
Yeah. And I think that for the audience out there,
Yeah,
I think that's really important to know yourself and know your body because doctors do assessments, but they do an assessment based on a 1 hour consultation. And we're quite honestly, it's really the health profession really lacking in knowledge about acquired brain injury and each disability. From my peers, what I realise is that it affects people differently.
absolutely.
So this platform is also uh, an educational platform for everyone. So that's what we want to just like put out there. So I know that we have talked about a little bit about this. Okay, I'll ask anyway, and if it's not relevant, just let me know. So,
Okay.
what goals have you achieved, and how did you navigate your way around around to achieve these goals?
Goals. Well, goals are essential to the brain injured experience because without knowing where you're headed, how the hell are you going to get there? So well, of course, right at the beginning. So coming from being a professional dancer to losing absolutely all control of my body was the most groundbreaking lesson that I could ever have. That doesn't make sense really, but I have to say that of course my first goal was to be getting up and get standing and get walking. I think ultimately I've always wanted to get back on stage anymore. Get back on stage again. I kind of lost hope and felt like I left being an artist back in my past. But I'm just been really surprised that over the years, all these opportunities have availed themselves of me so that I can get back on stage. So I've been on stage with Raspberry Ripple Theatre. I was on stage with Disability Arts, Disability Slapstick Plan. We were at Northcote Town Hall in 2019. Yeah, and I've worked with Weave Movement Theatre. I've just lost what the question is. Can you remind me what the question is?
So, what goals have you achieved?
Goals, right? Cool. Okay, so I won't go into listing all my performances, but I achieved that goal. I achieved the goal of getting back on stage. I've achieved the goal of building my own business. I've achieved the goal of finally getting off the pension. I'm off the pension. That was big for me. I achieved I've achieved so many goals. It's been 22 years and I am a very, very determined person.
Could you give us an idea? This is the second half of the question. How you navigated your way around these goals? So, what supports did you have in place? All that sort of
Okay.
stuff.
So I've learnt and I've studied many things over the years. So I have to say meditation has been key to my development. I've been able to use meditation on and off over the years to enable me to turn my brain off, because I have a brain that goes a billion miles an hour. So by getting control of that, I've also helped my emotional body as well, because anyway, so I've used tools. I've also used the support networks. So support networks are vital, and I'm very lucky in being Greek. I have a family that is devoted to the family. So I've been very lucky that I've been able to rely on my mum and my dad for helping me out through my 3 childhoods. So birth, accident, and cancer. They were there for me for all of those. I've also utilized support networks that were given to me through having an accident with a car. So I had the TAC, and the TAC enabled me to see psychologists and physiotherapists and occupational therapists and psychiatrists and all of those things. I've seen them over the years too. However, I do have to say that I turned away from that to look to more towards the complementary side of medicine. So I studied many things. I studied holistic wellness. I've studied reflexology. I've studied body work. I've had a big journey, and it's been a very intense journey, and it's been one mostly driven by my keen sense of curiosity. That's what I say to everybody. If you want to get better, go out there and look at your world with curious eyes.
What would you recommend to people who are watching on how to get yourself back together again? Like, what are the key major things that you did that, like you mentioned some before, but if someone's going, I don't know where to start, like where would you start off from?
Well, I'd say essentially find where your passion is. Where's your passion? My passion is the arts. So therefore, by following that passion, I've been able to get myself work in disability arts companies and been able to travel on that trajectory to enable myself to finally have a decent job within disability arts. I think following your passion and being curious and never being afraid to try something new.
What wisdom is that? That is awesome.
So I know that we're all involved in the community sector, but for those out there who aren't aware of organisations, can you tell us a few of those organisations that you've lived into that have enabled you to live a full life?
Okay, so organizations, well, I'll just talk about the organizations that I'm involved with at the moment, because they're enabling me to lead a very full life where I hardly have any time off. But that's okay. I'm a Greek. I work hard. Don't we, Julie?
We do. I'm actually European, but not Maltese.
Yeah, close enough. Your name is Skiberis, could be Greek. So we'll just give you a token Greekdom for the day. Anyway, so I work with Voice at the Table. Now, Voice at the Table champions the voices of people with cognitive disability at the table when there are policies and decisions being made about them. So we're talking about people at a community level or at a government level. And when there are decisions being made at these places, we champion the inclusion of people with cognitive disabilities there when those decisions are being made. Now, cognitive disabilities covers people with acquired brain injury. So acquired brain injury is, of course, people who've had traumatic brain injury or might have had a stroke or an aneurysm or something like that. And also people with intellectual disability have a cognitive disability also. So I work there on Mondays. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I work at Arts Access Victoria, and I have developed a series of 8 trainings for young artists with a disability, and I step them through the steps they need to take to become to carry on a successful career from within the disability arts community. And that's beginning fairly soon. So if you're between the ages of 18 and 26, an artist in Victoria, and you feel like, and you want to take part in a free workshop, have a look at Nexus on Arts Access Victoria's website. The admissions are open now. On Thursdays and Fridays, I work either on my business by accident. I mentioned that before, series of workshops or series of facilitated conversations for other people that have had an acquired brain injury. And I am also working on a piece of theatre. Maybe we will talk about that soon, but the piece of theatre is called Pieces of Me, and it's an exploration about brain injury. And I also am a consultant for the Australian Federation of Disability Organisations and Women with Disabilities Victoria. So I offer my consultations to those organisations when they need it.
Since for quite a while now, lived experience is more and more valued. There's more and more recognition about lived experience, and like you quite correctly said, Eva, earlier on, is that the people that have gone through things are the experts in their lives. And so within the Voice at the Table platform, it's a great platform for people with cognitive disabilities to have their say. And quite often we are referred to community organisations, government organisations, as a consultant, so we get paid for our time, and it's a great way for government to get it right. So government spends millions of dollars sometimes, and they don't get it right. So with Voice on Table, there's been lots of positive outcomes for everyone. So we're taxpayers, yeah. So it's for everyone, and more inclusion means better outcomes for everyone. Gulea, would you like to comment at all?
Well, I was thinking if I can share my screen. Eva, you were talking about Nexus at Arts Access, correct?
That's it.
I've just brought that up. And if people are interested, this is the details if you can have a look. So it's from the 3rd of August till the 21st of September, every Tuesday from 10 till 1 at South Melbourne. And it's accessible, and as you said, it's for free. So
it's only for people who are 18 to 26 though. So young artists, 18 to 26.
Yeah. So and it's got all these sessions. They're already there. Which did you design these?
Yep. I've developed the entire course.
That's awesome. And is this the first time you're running it?
Yep.
Wow. Congratulations. So there's claiming space, turning a new leaf, inside looking out, painting pennies, show me the money, cutting shapes, professional speaking, pitch to advocates. Yeah, so they're the sessions. Would you tell us a little bit more about that maybe?
Well, I was given this project by Arts Access Victoria, and I'm very, very grateful for it. Basically, what I've done is I'm stepping people through the steps that I have taken in my development as a disabled artist.
Yeah.
And these are steps that I took through my journey, and I'm offering this schedule to other people so that they can benefit from the basic foundational steps in creating yourself as a professional artist.
That's awesome. Sounds great. Yeah, lucky people who fit into that age group, because it sounds like you've got that passion and that you're on the cutting edge of leading, which sounds
Mm.
awesome. Yeah. So if we go back to some other things, what would you like to say about voice at the table that you didn't get to say? Like
Oh,
yeah.
I've been involved with Voice at the Table since its first delivery in 2016. It became the organisation that it is now in 2018 at the end of, and I became involved at the end of 2018. So I'm part of, I guess, the Vanguard group. Myself and Cameron Bloomfield, who has a mild intellectual disability, we go out to organisations and we promote the program basically. And when these organisations and councils want to use people with cognitive disabilities on their boards, they ask us, and we've got a whole cache. I think we've got like 50 people that have been trained in the skills that they need to take part in these boards and panels.
Yeah, so there's a practical assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So what else? Let's look at being. You mentioned like you were discussing what it's like to be Greek and all, and tell us a little bit about being from a culturally and linguistically diverse background and having an ability. Like I don't like saying disability, but that's what
Well,
it's fun about. But yeah.
I proudly say that I'm disabled because I attend to the social model of disability, which says that I'm disabled by society. I'm not disabled by my body. So therefore, I proudly say that I'm disabled because yeah. Anyway, yeah, being from a cold background, there are pluses and there are minuses. Of course, the pluses I have to say, and I'll mention it again, is my family and the there's kind of an accepted responsibility to family that I see reflected in cold families so much more so than Anglo-Saxon families or Western families or whatever you want to say. I don't want to seem like I'm being racist or anything like that. Anyway, so I say that being from a cold background is wonderful in that you can basically be assured of the fact that you're going to have family there for you, because especially after a brain injury and especially after my brain injury, remember before my injury, I was working in nightclubs and I was hanging out with all young people, and people don't want to talk to somebody who has a brain injury and can't shave their legs anymore and can't pluck their eyebrows anymore. And yeah, be superficial, if you know what I mean. I was only 23 when I got hit by the car. So I'm very, very grateful for being part of a cold community because I lost basically all my friends after the injury. And at least I could be sure that I had my family there. The minus in being part of a cold community was reflected when I went and I visited my godmother in Greece in 2004. I spent 1 week with my godmother. That was fine on the island of Patmos. And then I went to the island that my father was born on, and I met family there for the first time. I spent the last week of a 5-week independent world tour with them, and I didn't find out until 6 months later that they had disowned me, because by the time I met them was week 5 of the 5-week trip overseas, and I was so exhausted that I was completely disinhibited. I didn't have any way of controlling what was coming out of my mouth, and let's just say they were very shocked, and they held it against me. So I have to say that I think, and also what I've heard from advocates that have come from Greece, especially in Greece, there's a big ignorance about disability, and and disabled people are not supported by and large. They're not, then there's not, there doesn't seem to be social structures or social support for them. And yeah, so it's a many layered thing. And I'm just worried that I'm saying too much.
I guess you're being yourself, and people who are, watching you and us discuss this matter, there might be someone out there that you reach out to, like someone you might be comforting someone's heart right now,
Yeah.
and them going, yes, I can relate to her. I can understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it's this political correctness thing, but it's also, education, wouldn't it be? Like people from different cultures have different viewpoints, and they are loved and cared for. I mean, but I guess when when you experience things and your experience is valid because that's your experience, no one can take that away from you. We just hope that people who have got friends or family that are disabled, watching us could take a page out of your book, your chapter, on
Yeah.
how to win and how to be motivated and
Yeah.
talk and those kind of things.
Yeah. I think ultimately it just comes to having faith in yourself and I'm going to swear a little bit, but I'm going to say, don't let the bastards get you down.
Yeah. That's important to be able to share something that is deep down rooted, that you experienced.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I should have warned you that I was going to talk about that.
No,
So,
we're just people. We're just talking about our experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so Eva, you spoke about Greek people, ethnic people in different countries. Do you think there's an argument to say about invisible disabilities? Because a lot of cultures maybe see the physical side of disability.
Yeah.
They don't really identify, like in the Australian definition now, even mental health issues are now considered disability. So, would you like to comment on that?
Um, well, I guess acquired brain injury is seen as an invisible disability too. However, I don't see mine as an invisible disability. If you saw me get up and walk, you will see that I still have a little bit of a limp. So that to me tells me that I've got a visible disability. I know there are lots of other people that have acquired brain injuries that don't have limps or don't look outwardly disabled. So therefore, their acquired brain injury is an invisible disability. However, when it comes to mental health, what can I say? I think as a society, we are evolving and we continue to evolve. And I think along with evolution comes compassion and comes understanding. So there were disabilities, disabilities by and large didn't even register on the social perspective at all. But now at least we're being given space. So disability is many tiered. It can be fantastic. It can be hard. It can be challenging. It can be alienating. It can be empowering. It's just, I think by looking at all these things, I think you have the opportunity to create your own reality. So you need to look at what you're focusing on. However, your question was particularly about mental health and mental illness being included as a disability, even though it may be invisible. And my thoughts of that are, I know many people that have mental illness and mental health problems, And in my estimation, I think they're well deserving of the disabled moniker, should they want to take it on.
Yeah, so it's very interesting with the cold community, um, and they are evolving as a community. In I can say that in the Australian context, but there's a long way to go, and a lot of shame is sometimes there still.
Yep.
Parents of children with disabilities.
Yep.
So and we talk about this a lot about the before and after experience. And I talk about it in my perspective. I did not have the after experience because my injury happened when I was 6 months old. So I suppose from your perspective, Eva, um, emotionally, there's a lot to deal with, yeah?
It's been huge. Before, would you like me to keep going, or do you have a question? Okay. Before my injury, the only real exposure to disability I had was my uncle, and my uncle had cerebral palsy, and so his disability was very obvious, and I witnessed the ignorance of the disability of the Greek community in Adelaide. Many people didn't even know he existed, and so that to me showed me that and I was raised knowing that he was denied his personhood because of shame, because of the shame that having a disability brought on to people who had just migrated from Greece. And so yeah, shame has been very obvious in my life. Also, shame and cold communities goes hand in hand. I would hope and pray that that they are progressing, but after my treatment in Greece, I don't really know. But that was 2004, so that was nearly 20 years ago. Let's hope that there are advances being made.
Would you like to comment for that?
What can you say to something like that? Like Julie and Eva, what can you say to people, without saying that that it's not, it's really difficult to treat people in such a bad way. But how do you, as people who looking from the outside or looking from the inside to outside, what would be your recommendations? Like, if you were to write a manifesto on disability and being, in the social model of medicine and how we are treated, how do you, like they say, you can get more people to honey than to vinegar, So, I mean, I would say that we need to educate people and understanding, and like you said, being compassionate. But there's also another thing, that we need to be compassionate to ourselves. Like, to me, it sounds like, Eva, you're very compassionate to yourself. You're understanding of yourself, and you put yourself out there and look at all the things you've achieved. That's wonderful. That is amazing. You're a great role model. But but if these people have hurt you,
Yeah.
that's an area that you could you're talking back to them by all these skills that you've got, all these programs that you've developed, being an advocate out there. So you're like a role model to people who don't understand.
That's basically that's what I'm fighting fire with fire. It's no good trying to make people change their point of view if it's something that's set. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to lead by example, and they can choose if they want to come along for the ride.
Yeah,
That's it, isn't it? Choice.
yeah. What I find interesting is that and I say this quite often, things can happen at any stage of life. And in your case, Eva, it happened when you're 23, And so this is why I fight for advocacy and seeing the person first, because because I have that future type of thinking to make society a better place for everyone.
Mhm.
And people may think, I'm not in my backyard, it's not my problem. But hey, it could be a problem, and we're out there to make a better society for everyone, not only people that are affected today. So, with that in mind, um, any other comments?
Well, some people know that I've recently finished an exhibition on Human First, and it's looking at 10 deaf and disabled artists and their art practice. And the key messages. So, I mean, people should go and have a look and see all these strong people with disability talking about how they make art. Like it's awesome, and it's really good to surround yourself with, people that are role models like yourself, Eva. Like, you said earlier that you lost your friendship circle when the accident happened, and how does that make you feel now? Now that you are where you are right now, like, what would you say to the Eva back then?
Yeah. Well, as I said, it's been 22 years. So I'm basically neatly straddling. So I was 23. I just turned 23 when I had the accident. And now it's 22 years late. So I've basically lived half my life without a disability and half my life with a disability. And that means that I have evolved into a completely new person over the past 22 years, because I'm basically the same age I was when I got hit by the car. So what I would say to the Eva of before is go easy, on yourself, and then most importantly, but this is something that only comes later, is go easy on them. Because the way I see it is that, especially because I was 23 years old, nobody at that age wants to be reminded that anything can change like this. And at 23 years old, you don't want to be reminded that your life could be totally like thrown to the wolves in 1 second, So I've had to grow compassion over the years, and I've had to recognize the point that the people were that my friends were at that time, and so therefore I'm very, very glad, I'm very lucky, and I'm very glad to have finally gotten to the space now where I try not to hold I don't hold grudges. And if anybody wants to talk to me again after not talking to me for 20 years, I'm happy. My arms are open, basically. Everybody, there are two sides to every story. That's all I can, okay, that's what I'm going to wrap it up with. There are two sides to every story.
Well, Gully, talk about what would you, if we could write something up for the general population as to how people want to be treated. It's quite obvious here, but my group, the groups that I facilitate a number of groups of people with intellectual disabilities. Some are non-verbal, and they say to me, we don't like, the way people look at us, we don't like being stared at. We don't like. We just want to be treated like everyone else in the community. Without, we like to be recognised for the skills and for the good things we have that we do in the community. And I've met some really absolutely wonderful people through these groups, and wonderful artists. Some are wonderful artists. In in the in another world, there would be professional artists in Hollywood. That's how good they were. But because of their their anxiety issues, and a whole range of issues. But yeah, so I'm really quite not amazed, but I'm quite very privileged to be able to be with these people and to see how great they are. And but it's also humility. They don't know how great they are, you know. So in their humility, I find quite endearing, and just treat people how you want to be treated in the end, regardless of uh, what you think. Well, your inward expression comes out outwardly. So I think that people need to recognise that, and if they sort of like have things to work on those issues, because it's actually a reflection on you, not the other person. When you insult someone or look down on someone, it's a reflection on you, not the actual person.
Yeah, I can completely understand where you're coming from, and I can completely understand where those people who were feeling looked at, and yeah, because it it still happens sometimes. If I'm not feeling happy, if I'm not feeling great, if I'm feeling fatigued, and somebody looks at my feet, I still feel that rise in me that wants to scratch their eyes out, basically, and just say, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" But something that I've developed is now I've got the ability to smile at the person, and then that kind of throws it back in their face, because they realize they've been busted and in looking at me, and then if I smile at them, that kind of welcomes a response. And more often than not, their eyes go down and they shuffle off. But I think I've made my message by smiling at them.
Yes. So so these groups, like you just suggested, Eva, we try to give people strategies, yeah, to deal with these issues, so they feel better about themselves, and and to educate the community, on these
Exactly.
issues. Anyway,
Yeah.
would we like to move on, ladies?
Go on.
Okay, so future goals, Eva.
Future goals. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to get by accident uh, more recognized and delivered at a wider sphere. At the moment, I'm being sponsored by Brain Injury Matters and leading by accident trainings for free through Brain Injury Matters. I'd like to get by accident recognized on a national scale. I'd like to go international with it, even, because from my research, I don't think there's any peer initiated, developed, or led trainings like this anywhere in the world, even. So I'd like to run with that. I'd also like to extend my consultation. So I'd like to consult with more companies and more organizations. I'm also going to be working together with an organisation here in Melbourne later, I think maybe in September or something like that, and I'm going to develop a training for carers of people that have had an acquired brain injury. So over the next couple of months, I'm going to be developing a training that will be released through one of the organisations here in Melbourne soon. Our goal would be to get my theatre piece that I'm working on, that I'm producing. I'd love to get that out on stage, because I think that offers a view of acquired brain injury that has never been seen before, and the fact that the entire cast have an acquired brain injury, the directors all have acquired brain injury. I would like to have the staging managers and the staging people all having an acquired brain injury or a disability of some sort, and this way be completely disabled led and about and led. Yeah. So yeah, I'd like to not ultimately, but that's my main goal at the moment, is to get pieces of me sponsored and staged somewhere. Maybe for 2022 Fringe Festival. That would be amazing.
And I assume that this is like a semi-autobiography.
Pardon?
Is it a semi-autobiography?
Well, it's a semi-autobiography of all the people that are taking part in it. So Pieces of Me is also pieces of all the people. So what it is I am spreading the awareness that many people with acquired brain injury after some time actually grow grateful for the experience. And I am showing through this piece of theatre why and how people find gratitude through their acquired brain injury experience.
So what are you calling your theatre?
It's called Pieces of Me.
Pieces of Me.
Which is, I think it's something that anybody has a brain injury would be familiar with. There are pieces, there is a physical piece of you, there's the mental piece of you, there's a spiritual piece of you, there are pieces of you all over your body. yeah. And pieces of your life as well.
Yeah. Any other comments, Claudette?
Well, I'm still thinking through what Eva and you were saying. Like we're all absorbing the beautiful words of wisdom coming out from you guys, which is I'm really happy to share this space, this platform with you. Yeah, so we can look at other aspects, but it sounds like you've got like you're highly organized, Eva, with your training and teaching people and running different groups and being a part of different organizations, and yeah, it's awesome.
It's a lot of work. But you know, I'll say it again. It's all thanks to being Greek. I really think that's got a lot to do with it. Greek people, ethnic people have a work ethic, and I'm lucky that my brain injury didn't steal my work ethic. In fact, I'd have to say my brain injury actually made me more determined to actually make a difference, which is something that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, but like me, I'm sure you need breaks and all that sort of stuff incorporated into your day.
Yeah, well, I did grow myself cancer, and I really believe that I grew myself cancer because I wasn't taking enough care of myself, and I wasn't giving myself enough rest and enough breaks. So that was a pretty strong lesson to me. But through that lesson, I've learnt many new skills.
So we have about 10 minutes left. So
I was just interested in asking Eva about what opportunities are available to mainstream Australians that are not for First Nations or cold people with disabilities or acquired brain injury.
It's a difficult question. I think essentially what we're dealing with here is that Australia is a highly discriminatory country, and we're struggling to make something of ourselves here in this country. Cold and Indigenous people. It's difficult. Australia is discriminatory, and it's discriminatory not just against able and disabled people or disabled and non-disabled people, but there's discrimination for people, for Indigenous peoples and for cold people and for Asian people too. Yeah, well, that's culturally, yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so the question was what opportunities are there for Anglo people who aren't cold or Indigenous?
Yeah, it's like what do they get that we don't get? Like what's happening?
Well, I don't think it's a question that can really fairly be asked, because you're asking for my opinion, and I think it goes further than that. What what opportunities are available for men that are not available for women. So, so you've got levels even through that. So you've got white employed men, you've got white employed women, and where the disparity is even between there. So I don't know how to answer that question. I think it's more of a point and see. Go outside and point at something and say, is that available to me? Is that accessible to me? I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that question.
But you have answered it with
Okay, there you go.
Hosts of
examples.
Yes, which is why we love to chat to advocates and people in the field. Yeah.
Just a reflection on your question, Goulet.
Yeah.
I saw something recently. I might have read it or saw it. A white disabled man says that he still has white privilege. So, like you quite correctly said, Eva, there's a strata, there's like a pecking order, and as much as I don't like using that word, um, and that's not politically correct, but that pecking order, I believe, still exists.
Of course.
We have to be like morons, excuse the language, to actually not recognise that. And there's nothing wrong in calling things out as they are, as you see them, respectfully, yeah. And there still is a pecking order. I still get sometimes, where are you from, and even though it's not meant in a negative way, and, and I can tell with tones, attitudes, sorry about that, tones and attitudes, and as to the intention of someone. So I have to respond to that at times. And the Maltese have been around for a long time in Australia. The mass migration happened after the war, but they've been around in Australia since the Great Depression. So we're an established community, but we're a minority in Malta. The population of Malta is 400,000. It's about the same in Australia. So Malta is the smallest island in the EU. So you would expect that the numbers in Australia are about the same. So I get a bit like taken back sometimes where you're from, but I have to answer respectfully and do all that sort of stuff and run with it. And yes. So I don't know. Any other comments, guys?
Yeah, well, we've only got a few more minutes left, and let's think of. We should have the option of people writing to us so we can tell, like, if someone wrote
ask
to us.
a question.
Yeah, ask a question. Like, let's see what people out there want to ask them. Yeah, because it's part of investigating, looking into. It's like being a little, detective, just trying to find out as much information from that person and about self advocacy and yeah.
I'll let you know if anybody wants to find out more about me and my business. Please look up my website. It's www.byaccident.com.au. So byaccident.com.au. And you'll see more about me and get in touch with me if you like. If you want to ask me any questions or anything like that, please do so.
We also have a chat area on our website. It's D&D Your Life Your Voice at gmail.com. And we always encourage people to leave comments, suggestions, but so far we've had none. So anyway, that's always an option for everyone out there. Just be kind. Don't say you're the best up. Well, I often do. Anyway, but that's the joy of community-based radio, community-based broadcasting. So hopefully I won't put myself in too much trouble down the road. But hey, it's life. I'll live with it. So we would like to thank our special guest for today, Evas. And if you'd like to know more information, get in touch with byaccident.com.au and or else leave us a comment on the D&D Your Life, Your Voice at gmail.com. Thank you, Eva, for your time.
Thank you. It was lovely to hang out with you guys.
Thank you so much. So, Eva, we have to do the funding body acknowledgements.
Okay.
You can either stay or you can leave. It's
Yeah,
up to you.
I might just get going. But thanks, guys. It was lovely to hang out with you and lovely to talk to you and lovely probably maybe to share too much. But anyway, that's part of the joy of having a brain injury, isn't it?
Have an excuse.
Yay. Thank you. See you later.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. So, D&D Your Life, Your Voice would like to thank the Migrant Resource Centre Northwest Management for their support they give to the D&D Your Life, Your Voice project. This YouTube channel is funded by, at the moment, D&D and MRC Northwest Region, and we'd like to thank them for their funding for this progressive out-of-the-box project, especially at these times living through a pandemic. And this channel is for them too. And in the next sessions, we'll be providing more information and support on the COVID-19 and lockdown, which we hope in Melbourne, Victoria, and for the rest of the country will be over very, very soon. We'd like to thank our guest speaker for today, and we'd like to get your input and your comments on the D&D Your Life, Your Voice at gmail.com. Thank you, everyone. Final comments, Claire?
Well, like we said, we'd love to get some information from you and questions. Yes, we're interested. So don't be afraid. Just email us and let's take it from there.
Okay, so from Julie Skiveris and Claire Atbozis, we'd like to say have a good week. Bye.
Bye.